right. This is lesson 4, and God put you exactly where you're supposed to be, even when you don't realize it. Gave Lane a little meme put up. God canceled your plans to save your life. He sent you to the other direction to avoid danger. He fights battles you know nothing about. His plan is better than yours, believe it or not. If you owe your entire life to God, thank him with a grateful amen. Isn't that great? So I always, when I'm looking for scriptures, I love the Bible app, I've told you before. I like to, I think this is hung on my glasses, Lynn. Okay. Well, it's just going to stay there. So I want to talk about a verse, Psalms 139, 13 through 15. First, I'm going to read the NIV. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. I also want to read the New King James Version. For you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. So each of those has a little bit of different wording, but it kind of all brings it together for me. And the part fearfully and wonderfully made is the best part, I think. So I have my own version. God made us in our mother's womb. He has a perfect purpose for us in this world. God knew us before he created the world. He made us in his perfect image. We are fearfully and wonderfully made by him. He knew when we would be born and when we will die. We are all unique. We are all God's children. So I've been asking you guys to think of situations where God placed you in the right place at the right time. Wednesday night at worship practice, Callan was telling me that she enjoyed the series, and she said that she was sitting there trying to remember a time where God put her somewhere at the right time, the right place. And she couldn't think of anything, so she prayed for him to do it and put her somewhere at the right time. So this week, she was telling me that she went to the nail salon and was getting with Tamara, and were getting their toes done, and the nail guy was listening to them talk about the church, Christianity, and things, and he started asking questions, and he said that he's been a Christian, he's been an atheist, he's a Buddhist, and right now he claims to be an atheist. So, which is interesting because I know that there's people that go through that, the array of, and trying to find what's right. But after a while, and he enjoyed the conversation, so God put her and Tamara there at that time to talk to this atheist man who thinks he's an atheist, but he ended up coming back and giving them money to donate to the church for Tamara's homeless ministry. Isn't that amazing? So, yeah, God put, and she prayed for that, and God did it. Yeah, the next day that happened. So, God answers prayers. And if you don't think so, then you just have not opened your heart to it. Brandon also said, I got put in a place, and he had a friend that lived farther away, and they were talking. One day he called him. You say that was last week, Brandon? And they just started talking, and it was first about AC stuff, and then ended up talking about God. And this guy wants to come to the church now. So God put Brandon there to speak to this guy, someone he's already known for a while, but it just so happens we are the voice of God when, Lane, I've got to fix this. It popped out of. Okay. So God puts you in places for reasons, and if you don't believe it, just open your heart to it. So a couple months ago, I have a coworker that was found unresponsive from her daughter. From her father, and she had somehow managed to. It's hard to describe. You got a bed, you got a night table, and then you got a wall. And somehow she was between the night table and the bed, and it was cutting off her oxygen. So her father just happened to be walking around down the hallway and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she didn't answer, and he looked, and he sees her in this awkward position and wonders what is going on. And so she wasn't breathing. Of course, he, did what he could. He called the ambulance, and they didn't know how long she'd been like that. But God put her dad right there to find her at the right time. So at the hospital, she was still unresponsive. They immediately placed her on a ventilator, and she remained in a coma for 3 days. So they're just waiting. All it is a waiting game at this point, and to know what kind of damage. They're expecting damage. The doctors are preparing the family because according to Medicine Plus, a resource of the U.S. National Library of Medicine, brain cells are very sensitive to the lack of oxygen. Some brain cells start dying in less than 5 minutes after their oxygen supply disappears. As a result, brain hypoxia can rapidly cause severe brain damage or death. In as little as 1 to 2 minutes without oxygen, a person can have brain damage. In as little as 5 minutes without oxygen, brain cells die and severe brain damage occurs. And at 10 minutes, death. The Lord put her father there. So she ended up, they weaned her off of the ventilator on the 4th day, and every time they tried to take it was kind of a medically induced coma to help her her body relax and heal. And she started fighting and kicking every time she was weaned off the medicine. So they'd put her back under, but she started breathing on her own. So throughout that day, they much slowly weaned her off of the medicine. And the next day, on the 5th day, she woke up and says, "Why am I in the hospital?" All the tests were done. There was no damage. And so in as little as 2 minutes, you can have brain damage without oxygen to your brain. So it's just an incredible story. And she was tired. She had no idea, didn't remember any of it. And she found out later that when they got home, that she had taken the wrong combo of medication. She's got a couple different illnesses, and you're not supposed to take one without food or one with food, something, and then you're not supposed to take one at the same time as the other, and that's what ended up. She just basically passed out, but in such a way that her throat was constricted. In Psalms 32:8, God states, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye." That was God guiding her father, because he said that he never goes down the hallway. It's not like she's 30-something-year-old lady. He doesn't check on her. So it's definitely God guided him. Lane, will you put up the other slide? Oh, I'm sorry. Never I did that, the first one, way too early. So I'll go on to this. I typed in, God put you in the right place in my web browser. And I located a story. Oh, that slide of the website. Thank you. And that was named, God Placed You Where You Are for a Reason. It was written by Amy K. Hall. The site is Stand to Reason, Clear Thinking Christianity. Now, I did not research the entire site to see, but what I saw was good stuff. And I thought, dang, that's my whole study. She's already done that. I didn't even read the entire story, but it's definitely what I've been talking about on God putting you in places. I took a little time to research the website. It does seem to be a good reference for Christians. That's why I put the name on the slide so you can check it out if you want to. There's lots of stories written by many people, and it seems like everyone on the site is a Christian and well skilled and with great knowledge. So, in Philippians 2:13, for it is God who works in you both to will and to do for his good pleasures. It just constantly tells you in the Bible that God put you where you are for an exact reason, and even the things you had to go through, Richard, in your, in the bad times, brought you here to where you are now in the good times. It's unfortunate that we have to go through those bad times, but we all do. The importance is if we learn from them and we grow and we create a better environment for ourselves and the people around us. And we share, like you do on your studies on Friday nights, that God took care of me, he can take care of you. God has put us all where we are for such a time as this. You can find that purpose and dedicate your life to the glory of God, or you can ignore it. And you want me to stop? That's the associate pastor over there. No. So you can find that purpose that God has placed you on this earth for, or you can ignore it and chase after empty promises that the world gives you. You do this, you're going to feel better. Do that, you're going to be stronger. Or just listen to God, and you will be at your inner peace. It's really your choice. So I would say follow God. Another story I have personally is I'm a member of TMPA, Texas Municipal Police Association. I still go to their conferences every year because it's still good information, even being retired. So last year, the conference is always the last weekend in July, which sometimes ends up early August. So it was downtown Dallas at the Hyatt Regency, and we had some time to kill. And so it's another story of, well, I had time to kill, and something happened because God put me there. I asked one of the officers, I said, hey, you remember my daughter? And he was like, yeah, what's she doing now? So I told him, and she was working at a restaurant at the Sheraton Hotel downtown also, which is on the train line. So we went from the Hyatt Regency to the Sheraton downtown on the trains, the dark trains. And now, the first story I told you, there was like 47 miles of trains. Now there is 93 miles of train line down through Dallas and the other cities. So we could have been anywhere within 93 miles, and there's 65 train stations. So we got off at one station, and because that train was like uber crowded and we didn't want to be on there. And we were going to wait for the next one. And because that way we didn't have to see anything, for him to have to go work. And we saw this kid on the platform, like maybe 3, 4-ish. And we looked around, and the train left, the one we had just gotten off of. So we only got off that train because it was too crowded. And we had, we know that every 3 or 4 minutes another one comes. And we're just going to another station. And we see this little toddler, and he's like looking around. He's Hispanic. He doesn't speak English, and we're trying to talk to him. And like, where's your mom? And he's like, and he pointed. He wasn't real vocal, but he pointed to the train that had just left. So we're like, oh no. So immediately, my officer friend calls dispatch because he's still working there, and says, hey, train X, and it's going northbound, and it's from this station, gave him all the details that this child has been left, and to make an announcement and get the parents off at the next station. Well, there's supervisors, train supervisors, and they can be anywhere. They're usually scheduled like south on the blue line, north on the red line, something like the areas. But they could have been within there happened to be a train supervisor on that next platform. God put him in there. And so he got the information, told the train to hold, and it's like it's a miracle to get a train to stop, because they have to be on time to make all the other trains work correctly. And then it's just an ordeal, I'll put it that way. So he got the train to stop, and kept it there, and walked through the train and asked, who's missing your child? And finally a couple and some other kids, they're like, oh, is it a little boy? And I think they were homeless, and I felt so bad for them, because they almost, I hate to say this, but they almost seemed like it was a relief that they had one less. That's just the vibe I got from them. So, that's kind of an unfortunate part. But, so we took the little boy, and we told him we were police officers. I lied because I was retired, but we both had badges on us. So we showed him our badges. I showed him my retired one, and Gary showed him his, and that made him feel a little more comfortable. So at least his parents had told him that maybe something, if you need help, go to a cop. So we walked, and it was about a 2-block walk. So we walked him, and we're holding his little hands, and he still didn't ever speak. And we got to the train platform, and we looked around, and we see all these people, but nobody's going, oh, honey, and that's why I got that odd impression. And finally, we saw this couple with all these other kids just sitting on the platform, and the train supervisor said, those are the parents. I'm like, really? You don't act like the parents, but they, he ran to them, so we knew that he knew them. But that's another thing that just happened, only because I was going to go do something else, killing time, and this happened right in front of us. So like I said, there's 65 stations this kid could have got off of, and he happened to get off on the one that we were there. So it's all God. Bad things happen. We might not understand why, but it happens, and we just have to trust and believe. God puts you in hard times sometimes to help you realize how good the good times are. He puts you there to teach you. Be thankful for what he has taught you, and try to learn from these things. Did it ever occur to you that you might be one of God's heroes, and he's equipping you and preparing you to do something amazing that hasn't happened yet? It might happen tomorrow, it might happen in 10 years, but you just have to believe that God put me here for something good, and I'm going to strive to find that, and strive to turn around the things that happened, what I thought was bad, and find the goodness in those things. Because it's all like going to school, the 12 years, and then the college you go, you learn different things. You might not like it. I mean, there's a lot about school that most people don't like, but there'll be a situation in your life that you only know how to deal with because you learned. Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. And Proverbs 3:5 and 6, I will leave you with this. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledging him, and he shall direct your paths. Strive to let God direct your path and not be the one that went, oh God, that seems a little too hard. I'm going to go this way. Because that little meme I had last week with the valleys and the rain and the mountains, that is what is going to happen. But you'll get to where you need to be as soon as God is ready for you to be there. That's all I have. I guess I'm just talking too fast. Y'all have any questions or any other things? Or Brandon, you want to tell any more about your friend that...
He actually, he's going to start seminary school, become ordained minister, and he wanted to start coming to church with me.
Nice.
He was going to come to the bash yesterday and come to church today, but since he's going to start going to school, he's going to be working more on the weekends than during the week. But yeah, it was a good talk with him.
Good. Very good. Anybody else? Where? Oh, Kylan has something.
I don't think it's an accident that our church is named The Journey, because, like you said, everything is a journey. And what I've learned on my personal journey with the Lord is that nothing is wasted. He doesn't waste anything. So yes, like you said, everything that you go through, he uses that. He uses an experience. And I talked a little bit about this in my series, but going to school and going to these things, and then I didn't end up teaching full time like I thought I would, but he's still using that knowledge that I got in school, and I'm using it in different ways, which is so interesting. But his ways are always better, and his path is better. But I just cling to that nothing is wasted with the Lord. Everything that we do has a purpose, and you never know what piece of your story will relate to somebody. I've had many times where I've been sitting in the sauna at the gym. I used to sit in the sauna at the gym, and women would come in there, women I wouldn't know, and they would just start, they would just start talking to me like we have been friends forever, and they would just pour out their stories to me, and there would be, without fail, there would always be something that I could relate to, even if it was just the tiniest little thing. Right. Even, being a mom of 2 little kids or whatever, going through some of the same things. And so even just those little tiny moments, like you said, it's important to share your story. It's important to share those pieces because you don't know what is going to relate to somebody, and God, put them in your path for a reason, and you're meant to share and relate, and that's really it.
See, you did have a time.
Do you think that you screwed up those parents rehoming their kids one at a time? You just brought it back to them after they be free?
No, because
Okay.
no, God said it was a good thing. So
Every we get rid of one, they bring it right back. No, I thought that was good, and I always think of Queen Esther and how powerful
Yeah.
it is, and how it's always conflicting to me, because we as mere mortals and humans, as of now, we love to question God, and why did you put me here, and why did you do this? And instead, you think of it really as this intricate weave of circumstances that God has laid out and ordained. And it says, obviously, in Acts, it says, from one man he made all the nations that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he marked out their appointed time in history and the boundaries of their lands. So not only were you born in the time, but you were born in the place, and it was ordained in this divine intervention that God has you in the places that you are. There's always something for you to do. And the way you tell this is, if you're still breathing, you still have a purpose.
Exactly.
Because when your purpose is done, you ain't gonna be here no more.
Right.
So, when I became a nurse, my first job was a nightmare. It ended in about 2 months. When you sometimes hear people say that some nurses eat their young, and I was in one of those type jobs where the nurses that were already there, didn't want
Right.
a student nurse or a new nurse. A graduate nurse is what I was called. So anyways, I was crushed, and I thought it was the most horrible thing in the world. But now I have my dream job that I couldn't ask for any better coworkers or unit to work in and so forth. It was what I had dreamed about doing way back when I was a dog groomer, and decided to change careers, which took several years before I got up the nerve to get started. But the whole point of bringing all that up was because of that experience, we work with a lot of students in our unit and all the units of the hospital. We work with nursing students that are going through school, and I always take the students. I'm signed up to do any kind of training that's necessary to take students, and I just pour my love into them, because I want them to know that, it can be a really hard job, and they can do it, and I try to just encourage them and give them a positive experience, so that hopefully
Yeah,
they'll.
so God taught you from your negative
Right.
experience to create positive ones. That's good. I'll tell you a random experience with Jed. Was it about 4 years ago? Okay, long time ago. When I was working, I didn't never ride the trains, and I was on patrol, but I don't know if I was overtime one day or something. I get on the train, and there's Jed sitting there, and so we had a good conversation, and just, right place, right time. It's about over.
I was gonna say one more. I was trying to figure out what you was doing. Last thing I was gonna say is, you never know the kind of impact. Every once in a while, I think the good Lord puts it on their heart to encourage you, to strengthen you. But I can't tell you the number of people. There's no credit to me, because honestly, a lot of the times, these people will call me up. I can't even remember the conversation, but I've had countless people call me up and say, I'll never forget what you told me back then. I'm like, well, that makes one of us, 'cause I forgot what I told you. But just because you don't always see the direct impact it has, there's seeds you plant, and I'm telling you, it sprouts, and you make a massive difference, down to being a different type of, creating a different type of environment, sowing words of encouragement, taking an interest in people, mentoring them. It makes it more of a difference than you understand, and it ripples throughout eternity.
I think one of the most important things to understand, if you're praying for God's will, rather than saying, how did I get here all the time, or being upset, saying, why am I here? Why do you have me here, God?
Right.
I heard one of the most profound things. I don't even know the guy's name. It was just one of the clips on Facebook. The guy said there are two things that are absolutely sure. Number one is we're totally free and we're totally responsible. We're free and we're responsible, and that God is sovereign over every molecule of life. And he said, that confuses me, but it's still true. And he said, if you've never stood before your God and been totally confused, then you worshiping an idol. You're not worshiping God. So I think the more we pray for God's will to be done and that a good man's steps are ordered by the Lord, rather than always, why am I here, or being upset, or how did I get here, or I made a mistake, or saying, God, if you're guiding me, you have me here for a reason. Please show me the reason and help me to fulfill the purpose that you've given me today on a daily basis, I believe. This is why this is so good.